So today we're talking about compound inequalities. We've been doing inequalities, but now we get to do even more cool stuff. So you're going to like this. So let's just talk some set theory and logic and everything like that. So if we have the word and, that means that it has to be true for both statements, both inequalities. And it also means intersection. So where do they intersect? They have to have the same numbers in order for it to work. And the symbol that we use for that is an upside down U. So let me tell you a couple things about that, and I'll come back to that U in just a second. So that's all mathematical, but the non-mathematical is, remember that and is very inclusive. It's the snob of the group, okay? If you're not just like them, you're not part of it. So it's very inclusive. And I'll come back to the examples of that. Now, and means that it can be true for either. Can be true for either. Oops, let's spell that the right way. Okay, so it can be true for either, whereas in and it has to be true for both at the same time. And with or, it is union. And it's going to be a right side up U, but no tail, no tail. Okay, and or is friendly. Friendly. All are included. Okay, so that's how you remember it too. Everything is included with and only inclusive. Now, here's the other way I remember it. That's non-mathematical. My mom used to make something called refrigerator soup. Everything went in to make a refrigerator soup. So think about friendly and union, and everything goes in. So my mom put everything in the refrigerator soup. This is a bowl, and the soup fits. Everything goes in from the refrigerator. Whereas this, it would spill right out. Okay? So the way we see it in standard notation or set notation is x is greater than or equal to 2, and x is less than 10. Now I want you to look at the graph of this before we go any further. So let's here we go, 2 is down at this end, 10 is up here. Well, x is greater than or equal to 2. That would be this direction, and it'd be colored in. Whereas this would be less than, not colored in. And remember, this is an and. So where are they the same? Right through here. Okay, that's where they are the same. And what we need to understand is we can also write that a different way. So it's everything between 2 and 10. So 2 is part of it, and 10 is part of it. And x is the stuff in between. So less than or equal to. So that symbol has to keep the same. So 2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 10. Is how we could read that. Now, interval notation, always straight out. There we go, straight out. So this is just going to go from 2, and it's colored in, so it's a square bracket, and it goes to 10. 10 is an open circle, so it's free, it can do whatever. Now, if we go with or remember is friendly, so let's look at an example of that. X is less than 1, or x is greater than 10. And if we look at the graph of this one, so here's 1 and here's 10. That's about as exact as we need it. Open circle on the 1 going left. Open circle on the 10 going right. But that's our graph. It's everything in together. Now, the way we have to write this one is it has to be everything. So we're going to pull this one up. Well, this one goes forever and ever in a negative direction, so negative infinity to 1. Union with 10 to infinity. And both of those are parentheses. Okay? So this one is going to be where they're connected. The stuff in between. Stuff between. And this is just everything together. Okay? It doesn't really matter. Just nice and friendly. Everybody's included. Okay, so let's look at a couple of these. We're going to write a compound inequality in standard form and interval based on the graph. So I think it's easiest to write the interval notation first, so I'm going to start with interval. Remember, interval, you just pull it straight out. You just pull it straight down, so it's 0, and it's 3. Here it's colored in, so it's a square bracket. Here it's a parentheses. Okay, that's our interval notation. Now set notation, if it's the stuff in between, then that means x has to be between those. 3 is the bigger one, 0 is the smaller one, and these always point to the left. It just makes it easier. They don't always, but it's lots easier. Now this is a square bracket, remember, so if I have a square bracket, I have a line here, I have to have a line there. Okay, so there is interval, and there is set notation or standard form. Now this one we know is going to be or, because it's two different things. And now we just write the two different things. Okay, you can do it on either interval. Interval is going to be union, so we use that symbol. Or it's just going to be set notation, so it's going to be x is less than -3, and that's a colored in one, so it's a line here. X is greater than 2. So interval notation is pull them straight down, so we go from -infinity to -3, square bracket, union with 2, whoops, that is a parentheses, 2 going to infinity. Okay? Now we're going to read the following. When we say read, we're going to actually write it out. X is less than 4 and greater than -3. Write in standard form and interval notation and then graph. To tell you the truth, sometimes it's easier to graph these first. But we can do it. Yeah, I'm going to graph it first. It's lots easier. So we have -3 is our smallest and 4. Okay? X is less than 4. X is less than 4. Okay? And then we have, and it's greater than -3. And it's greater than -3. Well, look, they have this stuff. It's both of them, but where do they intersect? Okay, that's and is where do they intersect? They intersect between. So now interval notation, we just pull it right out of there. So interval notation is going to go from -3 to 4. And standard, we just get to write that compound inequality. So -3 is where it begins, 4 where it ends, x is in between it, and it always points to the left. Okay, letter B, x is less than or equal to -6 and greater than or equal to 4. So we have -6, we have 4, it's less than or equal to, so or equal to means it's going to be colored in, greater than or equal to 4. This is an or situation. Notice that or. Okay. So standard, just write the two inequalities for this one. So x, if you put the variable on the left-hand side, graph goes, the inequality sign goes the same way as the graph. Or, we write that word in between. X is greater than, it's an open circle, than 4. Interval notation, then again, this is going to be that union, or we always use the refrigerator soup in here. And we have -infinity, so pull it straight out, -infinity to -6. And this is a parentheses in a square bracket. And this goes from 4 to +infinity. This one has a parentheses, they both do. Today's temperature will be above 10 degrees, but not as high as 26. So above 10, so here's 10, here's 26. Above 10 will be above 10, but not as high as 26. Okay, see how this one goes here and this one goes here? So it's the stuff in between. Okay, stuff in between, that's real mathematical, I know. Okay, so stuff in between for standard, remember we put the smallest, we put the variable, we put the largest. 26. And then we just put the inequality signs, they're both open circles. For interval notation, okay, it's just going to be from 10 to 26. See how that interval notation is so awesome? Okay, the prices are between, oh, hello, big help there, and it's inclusive. We know this is an and. We have a 35, we have an 85. It's the stuff in between, and it's between those two prices, so it's not colored in. It's not a solid circle. Awesome. So standard form is going to be, again, write the smallest one, write x, write the largest. And then the inequality signs always go to the left. Interval notation goes from 35 to 85. Ta-da! Okay, let's go to the back. Now we're going to solve compound inequalities. I have a huge thing that I use here that I think is very helpful. And what we're going to do here is that whenever I have this, you know how if I have an inequality, I have sides and equations? But with compound inequalities, I have sections. Do you see those sections right there? We're going to draw those in. We're going to have sections. And the reason that's important, and this is what I was talking about in class before, cover up part that's kind of confusing. If I would give you this inequality here, what would you do to both sides? You'd divide by -3. That's what you're going to do here too. But you're going to divide every single section by -3. So see, we keep them in sections. So then I'm going to have -6 divided by oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're dividing by a negative. Our inequality sign switches to go the opposite direction. So I get 2 is greater than x, which is greater than -6. Now, if I were going to do this one, I would rewrite it to be -6 is less than x, which is less than 2. It just makes it lots easier to see what is happening. So I have -6, I have 2, it's the stuff in between, I have open circles. Okay, that one's graphed. It didn't ask me to graph. Oh, yes, it did, graph my solution. But I just always do it, especially if I'm going to go interval. It's much easier to see. So then interval notation is -6 to 2. Standard form, I put the smallest, I put the variable, I put 2, and they always go to the left. I have standard form right there. Okay? I'm going to let you try this next one on your own because it's just two separate inequalities. Okay? Try this one on your own. So hopefully you saw when you got x is less than -5, x is greater than or equal to 2. It's an OR situation, so we know it's going to go off in two different directions for now anyway. There are more complicated things that happen, but we won't get into that right now. Standard form, I'm just going to write both of these inequalities with the OR between them. For interval notation, remember I always use the refrigerator soup. The bowl has to go between them. So it goes from -infinity to -5. Just bring that right up. And from 2, oh, but 2 is included, and goes to infinity. Okay, number 3. We're going to solve. We're going to do it as an and. Okay? So now I'd like you to try that one on your own, solving both of those inequalities, and then we'll talk at the end. Solve the inequality. Go. So, after you solve it, notice my smaller number I put over here, my largest number there, of course. And if I have less than or equal to, and if I have greater than, and it's an and, so where do they intersect? I always look to see where they intersect. So interval notation is just pull it straight out, so it goes from -4 to 9. 9 is a square bracket. Standard form, well, standard form, just take it from the picture. -4 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 9. Number 10, same kind of thing. Number 11, same kind of thing. So I'm going to jump to number 6 and show you that one again because this is another one where we divide it into sections. It's a compound inequality, not written with the word and, but it's going to be an and. So now we're going to solve both of these. And we start, again, cover up part of it. If you have this inequality, what would you start with? Well, you'd subtract 6 first. Do that to every single section. So now I have -15 is less than 3m, which is less than or equal to 12. Again, it's in sections, so I'm going to divide by 3, but I have to do it to every single section. So I get -5 is less than m, which is less than or equal to 4. -5, 4. See how it's just the stuff in between? This one's going to be an open circle. This one is a closed circle, and it's the stuff in between. Okay? Then interval notation goes from -5 to 4. Standard notation is just right there. -5 is less than m, which is less than or equal to 4. Okay, questions? And I'd like you to try number 4 and 5, and if you're in class, we will go through those in detail if you have questions. Let me give you the answers, so then you can try these. Here's this answer. See if you come up with that. And this answer. Looks like this. Okay, and then you can just write, those are both or. Okay, so you just write both of the inequalities. So x is less than or equal to -4. X is greater than or equal to 7. And standard, of course. Oh, hey, look, I switched these two. So this one would be the union of, so it'd be negative infinity to negative 4, union with square bracket on the negative 4, square bracket on the negative 7, on the positive 7, then 7 goes to infinity. Okay? You get the idea. If you have a question, you know where to find me. Thank you very much.